Do you know about Association of Indian Management Schools? It's a 34-year-old networking body of B schools in India, having a membership of about 600 top management institutions. AIMS focuses on professionalization of management education, protects interests of B schools, represents management institutions at national and international forums, financially supports members in academic events, funds research projects on management, disseminates management-related knowledge through its annual Management Education Convention, conferences, seminars, roundtables and workshops, organizes free weekly webinars on knowledge sharing and inspiring young leaders sessions for management faculty and students, supports B schools in admissions through ATMA, AIMS test for management admissions. Visit https://atmaims.com for more details. Publishes a biannual AIMS Journal of Management. Visit https://aimsjournal.com for more details. Circulates a quarterly e-newsletter on AIMS activities. Conducts workshops on case writing. Encourages AIMS members to be part of decision-making processes as members of chapter management committees and the executive board. Encourages students' participation in free weekly quiz competitions by providing support to interested institutions. Facilitates networking and interaction among B schools. Why would you like to remain a non-member of AIMS? Pay a very low one-time membership fee and enjoy many lifetime benefits. Visit https://aims.org.in for more details.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to yet another educative, interesting, and enlightening session on management lessons from movies. Movies are entertaining, and we all love watching movies and going to the cinemas. This wonderful medium of entertainment has opened the stage for sharing experiences, feeling the emotions, the stories, viewing the unimaginable, and many a times leaving an indelible mark in our minds about people, culture, traditions, nature, and the universe. Today, movies are not just sources of entertainment, they are a reflection of our society, a depiction of human nature, expression of emotions in different genres such as drama, horror, thriller, animation, adventure, action, science fiction, fantasy, and superheroes. There would not be anyone in today's session who has not watched one of these: The Dark Knight, Avatar, The Pursuit of Happiness, The Wolf of Wall Street, The Big Short, Ford versus Ferrari, Hidden Figures, etc. Obviously, I was listing out a few of my favorite ones there. And from our very own Hindi cinema, Three Idiots, Chak De India, Swades, Queen, Lage Raho Munna Bhai, Lagan, Sarkar, Laksh, Dangal, Rocket Singh, The Salesman of the Year, etc. So movies can provide great insights into leadership, teamwork, innovation, and various aspects of management. Analyzing characters and their decisions can offer valuable lessons applicable to real-world business scenarios. It is my pleasure and privilege to be a part of this wonderful session. I, Ms. Grace, am an assistant professor in the area of marketing and general manager, placements and corporate relations at Sivani Institute of Management, Hyderabad. My sincere gratitude to AIMS for the opportunity to host this session. I now take the privilege of introducing the host organization, Association of Indian Management Schools. In the Annals of Management Education, 27th August 1988, should be remembered as a great landmark, as it was on this day the Association of Indian Management Schools AIMS, a highly impacting a highly impact making networking body was born. It has the strong support about 500 high ranking B schools as its members and is one of the largest networking bodies in the world. It is an umbrella organization for the management institutions. AIMS has been involved in protecting the interests of management institutions from the vagaries of the governmental restrictive governmental regulations, professionalization of management related knowledge through its various activities like roundtables for deans and directors, faculty and student development events, organizing conventions, national and international level seminars and workshops, publication and distribution of AIMS Journal of Management, funding of research projects, and financial assistance. And of late, there has been a spurt in diversifying into new activities for the benefit of deans, directors, researchers, faculty, and students in the shape of inspiring young leaders and knowledge sharing sessions, at least one each every week. These new initiatives are fascinating to many faculty and young minds of students. So today we have our esteemed guest, Dr. Raju Rathod, to share his knowledge on management lessons from movies. And I take the pleasure of introducing our esteemed guest. Dr. Raju Rathod is a professor at MBA department, Sardar Patel University, Vallabh Vidyanagar, having an experience of 21 years. He is among the national trainers of Junior Chamber International, a certified trainer of the National Skill Development Council's Government of India. And Dr. Raju also attended a FTP at IIM Ahmedabad. He's a MBA gold medalist and a UGC NET qualified in December 2000. He completed two UGC and three government of Gujarat research projects, published 5 books and 95 research papers, and conducted more than 230 training sessions. Additionally, Dr. Raju served as president in Junior Chamber International Vallabh Vidyanagar in the year 2015, served as president of Lions Club in Vittal Udyognagar 2018 to 19, and district chairman vocational training. He is the founder member of Indian Society for Training and Development, Anand, Gujarat in 2017 to 2020, and he is currently the president of Sardar Patel University Teachers Association. To his academic credit, he has guided 15 PhD students and 17 MPhil students, and 8 are presently pursuing PhD in his guidance. His accomplishments include being a Senate member of Sardar Patel University, winner of Outstanding National Trainer Award of Junior Chamber International Zone 8 in 2019, and outstanding member of ISTD in 2020. With immense pride, I welcome our guest, Dr. Raju Rathod, for the session, and a hearty welcome to the President of Association of Indian Management School, Mr. Sudhir Sharma, Executive Board Member, Dr. Prasad Rao, AIMS Secretariat, and all dear participants, faculty, and students. A hearty welcome to all of you. So before we begin the session, a few announcements of the proceedings of the session. All participants' microphones are muted throughout the session. Hence, we request the participants to use the chat box for any questions and clarifications. And because of the huge number of registrations, we have opened the Zoom link. The same session can be viewed live on YouTube. And hence, we kindly request you to post your clarifications on the YouTube chat box for us to answer. All the questions, clarifications posted in Zoom and YouTube chat box will be taken up during the Q&A session. And please note this, 15 minutes prior to the closing of the session, feedback link would be posted in the chat box. So request all participants to encourage AIMS by providing your candid feedback and receive your participation certificates. The link will be available for 15 minutes. On that note of cheer, I now invite our guest, Dr. Raju Rathod, to begin the session.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Priya Madam. And at the outset, I recognize the presence of the President of AIMS, Dr. Sudhir Sir, and all the other executive members, including Prasad Sir. And thank you for support for Sunil Sir also for all the technical requirement. And at the outset, I also acknowledge my recommendation by Dr. Surya Rao, and for that I could get this opportunity. So I'm really Pleased to welcome all the 90 plus participants who joined this session at this afternoon. And I'm sharing my screen for the slide, and then we can talk further. It is a management lesson from movies. So the title is very simple, like a vanilla ice cream, right? Management lessons from movies. And then let us see how could I justify this topic. And because movie is something, as Madam rightly said, that most of us who joined here, they joined by choice, no, not by chance. And they join by desire, not by default, because when you have such kind of title, then naturally those who don't like the movies, they may not dare to attend such kind of topic. But yeah, if somebody got a little bit interest that okay, what is there in such kind of session, or what is my perspective and what is somebody's perspective regarding using a movies as a pedagogy in our day-to-day class or in a management class. I remember I did my orientation program, UGC orientation program from UGC Academic Staff College at Osmania University, Hyderabad. And over there, there was a one entire day on using a movies as the pedagogy, and we watched the movie called Life is Beautiful. If somebody have seen that movie, it is about the Hitler, and at that time there were concentration camp in the Russia, and then that's a very beautiful movie. The first half of the movie is very funny and following like a Charlie Chaplin, and then suddenly in the second half the movie become a tragedy, and then they show that how people suffered in this concentration camp. So over there also it sparked me from that orientation in 2007 at Hyderabad that movies can be used as a pedagogy also. And then from IIM also, we have been oriented for using the movies as a pedagogy at IIM Ahmedabad. And there was a movie called A Gang Ho. If somebody have watched that movie, it's a Japanese movie, and it talk about the Japanese style of management and the American style of management. So there was one American manager went to Japan to learn the Japanese style of management. Many of you might have remembered William Uchi, who talk about the Z kind of organization, which is nothing but a combination of American style of management and Japanese style of management. So the same thing was the context of the movie in this Gang Ho, and it was a very beautiful movie. And in Ahmedabad, I remember our professor Bakul Dholakia was there, and then he was explaining everything. So there also further it fueled my curiosity to using a movies as a pedagogy. And right from the childhood I love to watch the movies because there are so many single screen cinema hall near my home. So naturally while going to the school and coming back, we exposed to number of movies, and then that's how that interest was developed. So there was one research in a Mudra Institute of Communication. Many of you probably know Mudra Institute of Communication at Ahmedabad. It's one of the premier institute in the management communication. So they did one research, and then the research was on which are the most influencing 4 things in India. And if I ask you what are the 4 influencing things in India, then naturally the first one is cricket. Right, as right now you could, even in a OTT platform, you could see that how many people are watching the program live. Like Bharat Pakistan match was watched by more than 4 crore people, and then that's a family audience, so you can further multiply with 4, right? So you could see that how many people actually engage in a cricket, and this is the best time to talk about cricket, as the World Cup is going on, and then we see that how our bowlers are doing a magic. And then that's why there are some movies also, like say 83 was a very impactful movies. If somebody has seen that entire movie was on how we could won the World Cup in 1983. And then there was a movie called MS Dhoni also, right? Which many of you must have watched, which talk about the victory of Indian cricket team in 2011. So on a many other sports also nowadays there are movies. Of course, the second most influencing thing as per the MICA study was politics, right? Like most of the people at their office or at some other places. Most of the time, on table they are talking about politics in India. They like to talk about politics. So politics is also one of the most influencing thing in India. People most of the time engage in the conversation for politics and politics related things, and that's why there is an election in Rajasthan, and then now you can see that how people engage in such kind of talk. The third, the most influencing thing in India is a family and family values, and that's why even today Anupama is a family-based serial, is number one in North India. I don't know in South India, but again the Anupama as a concept was a remake of the concept in West Bengal. It's basically a Bengali serial and adapted in Hindi, and then there is a Hindi version of Anupama, and that's why there is a marriage of East and West, because the content is from East. Somebody invented that content from East, and then that was come to the West in Maharashtra, right? And then its family is Gujarati, like in Anupama as a family they show is a Gujarati family. So you could see that how the family as a bonding values in our culture, and is still successful. And that's why in a South Indian movies you could still see most of the movies are based on the family values, right? Like you have all kind of chacha, chachi, mama, masi, all kind of people. Every third or fourth movie in South still talk about the families. And of course, the fourth most influencing thing is the movies, right, in our country. And recently, you could see the phenomenon of a movie Leo. In a North India, the Leo movie didn't get the multiplex. In a multiplex, the screen were not allocated to the Leo, and it was released only in a single screen, right? And then people could see that there is a overwhelming acceptance of the movie, and then from a second week onward, they started showing the movies in a multiplex also. And in a 6 to 7 days in a North India, the Leo earned around 22 crore rupees. That's not a joke. 22 crore rupees, without releasing the movies in the multiplex. So that is what the power of movies, at the fraction of second, through word of mouth and viral marketing, the message travel, and then people are die hard to watch their superstars and the theme of the movie. So cricket, politics, family, and movies. Either you hate it or either you love it, but you cannot ignore it. So India is a country where you cannot ignore the influence of movies on the perception of the people and the beliefs and the lifestyle of the people. So that's why Madam also says movies are the mirror of a society. समाज का आईना फिल्में है ना, जो समाज में होता है वो फिल्मों में दिखाया जाता है. And whatever you see in the movies are actually inspired from society. So in India, this was a image from the movie called Darlings. In a Darlings, and that movie talk about a domestic violence. It was one of the most successful movies, recently on a OTT platform, which talk about a domestic violence. And these are the problems, we are facing, and our movies are presenting and manifesting those problems on the screen. And we are the largest producers of a features film in India. India is the largest producer of a features film in the world. India produces in an average 1,600 films in various languages per year, and no other country makes this many movies. Starting from Mother India to today, you can see that how many movies in a different regional languages also we are producing. And now the recent phenomenon is the regional movies like Malayalam movies, Telugu movies, even the Tamil movies are getting more acceptance in the North Belt also, and the North Indian movies are also now getting acceptance in the South India. It's a very tough market, South India, but still it is happening. And that is the reason the recent movie of Shah Rukh Khan, who is a superstar in the Hindi belt, is directed by the South Indian very famous director Atlee, right? Now, Italy is a very famous, very young South Indian director, but then taking a North Indian hero and then South Indian heroine, Nayantara, and then how the magic happened. So this is what happening in the movies world also. And then, in the beginning of this session, naturally, one question every time come in my mind: why do you like to watch a movie? Why should I like to watch a movies? It may be for entertainment, or it may be for a motivation, inspiration, or maybe I want to escape. The movies may be escape windows, like you want to escape from your all worries and stress and office workload and everything, and then you want to go and refresh, right? So there are so many USPs, unique selling points for selling a particular movies. And one of the unique selling points nowadays, movies is to teach a management lessons also, right? And that's why when Drishyam 2 was released, I could see many motivational speakers. They talk about leadership style shown in the Mohanlal original movies, and then Jay Devgan in the Hindi version, right? That how the role of a Mohanlal in the Drishyam 2, exemplify the leadership and the vision and various principles of management. So nowadays, movies are also used for targeting the business schools and the management institutes also, and we can see from that perspective also. And it all started from Three Idiots also. Before that, there was a Hindi movie called Tare Zameen Pe also. And if somebody have watched the movie In Pursuit of Happiness, that was also a very successful movie. And then there are some movies, people want to cherish and want to watch the same movies again and again. There is a repeat values of the movies. Like if you see this movie called Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, this was a movie in a Maratha Mandir cinema in Mumbai. It ran for number of years together, right? And this was the movie from a Yasraj film, the first movie produced by the Aditya Chopra, and that was a movie targeted at Indian diaspora. The Indian diaspora has a target audience, right? Nobody knows in 1995 that Indian diaspora, in nowadays you can see Indian diaspora is the biggest target market for the management courses also. Like our lakhs of students are going in UK or in United States of America or in Australia, Canada, for their further education. And I am from the belt which is called a Charotar or Anand district, where you find the maximum number of NRIs, particularly the Patel community, right? Migrating to all the corners of the world. And then and that's why our market is 90% depends on NRIs. In NRI season you get the 90% of the revenue, and for rest of the time they don't get any revenue. And in this case, that how this Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge successfully targeted the Indian diaspora, right? And that's why the first half of the movie was in Europe and the other countries, and the second half was in a hardcore Punjab and traditional Punjab and everything. So there are five, now when we talk about movies for management lessons, then we have to understand some of the fundamentals, right? Like all learning start with our sensory body organ, right? And all of us knows that there are five sensory body organ, right? So which are those five sensory body organs? It is, we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste, and we can feel, right? These are the five sensory body organs through which we registered a stimuli. Like in a perceptual process, if we can talk, then we registered the stimuli or input from an environment through five senses, and those inputs and clue will reach to our mind. And mind is, there are two parts. One is a left part and another one is a right part. So left part is a cognitive mind, and the right part is a affect part, which is emotional ability of relating something what we got through these five senses. So movies are using both the things, or rather it use more your right part, emotional part, as compared to the logical part, right? And that's why if even we refer the concept of the international relationship, and then there is a concept called hard power and soft power, right? Many of you must have seen the heard, right? Hard power and soft power. So not from the recent past, but even before Second World War and after Second World War also, when there was a Cold War, right? The soft power is also used. And what is this hard power and soft power? The hard power refer to use of a coercive means such as military force, economic sanctions by one entity to influence the behavior of interests of the another. So by forcing through your muscle power and armed forces, you are trying to influence the market of the other countries or the government of the other countries. But the soft power is, soft is ability to shape the preferences and influence of other through appeal and attraction, often rooted in its culture, political values, and foreign policies. So it is basically ability to shape the perception and create a favorable impression for some products and for some markets, right? That is the reason you could see there is a concept called in-film product placement. It's a very important concept. In-film product placement, where many multinational brands, they show the products in the narration of the movies or as a part of a movies, right? And that becomes a very effective means of marketing communication also. So movies are basically at a strategic level also. If we talk about the strategy of a particular country, or a strategy of a particular multinational companies are also using as a soft power, very softly and very solidly it is used as a soft power. Now, if it is possible, you can write in a chat box also that who have said this. I'm not deliberately asking to write in a chat box for each question, right? Because we have a limited time. So my idea is not to interrupt every now and then for your interaction, because I believe that and I safely faith that all are very attentive. So there is no need to every now and then ask you to write something on a chat box. But for this particular question, I really want to write in your chat box that who have said this, because this was the person who have said this. He must be given a credit and tributed for this thing. So any answer I can check in my chat also. And yeah, Dr. Sajia Khan says Shakespeare, right? So it's a William Shakespeare, right? And even today also, most of the movies, whether it is as Priya Madam was, saying, I liked Hollywood movies, right? As she was talking, many movies, Batman, Dark Knight, and all those movies. And those movies, still 90% of the movies, it is an adaptation of the drama, drama drafted by the William Shakespeare, right? Whether it is a Romeo and Juliet or Othello or whichever the drama we are talking, it is a revenge or whether it is a love, it is a betrayed or whatever, right? It is actually this was a genius person who is behind making this medium movie powerful than a message, right? So William Shakespeare. And then I'm teaching service marketing also. Then I took this particular slide from my book on service marketing from Lovelock and Christopher Chatterjee, right, where they talk about the four kind of services, that is people processing services, suggestion processing services, mental stimulus processing services, and information processing services. So I think movie is such a services which come in all the categories. You see, people processing services, when your people are part of a process. So here when people come and watch the movies, they are part of a process, right? Possession, they possess the place at somewhere. You buy the tickets of one chair or a recliner in a certain place, so you get a right to use that particular place for that particular time. And then mental stimulus also, because it actually influences your mind, and information processing also, because a lot of information may be going through your mind when you are watching a movies, through which you can make up your mind or condition your mind. So there are physical elements in a tangible products, and there are intangible elements in the services, and particularly in the products like a movies, right, which is highly intangible. But as I told you, soft power, here we are not talking the guns and armed forces, but how softly it influenced the perceptions of the people. So does movies impact us? Let me straightforward ask the question. Does movies impact us? So whether we watch the movies or if we don't watch the movies, whether we like the movies, we don't like the movies, whether we refer the examples of our movies in our class or not referring the examples of our movies in the class, but we cannot ignore one fact that yes, movies impact us, right? All of us, as a society, as a community, it influences us, right? And that's why, right from the beginning of my career, I made a point that if you want to, relate with the students, particularly the young students, right, then you must have a little bit knowledge regarding the movies and how the movies have been made, and who are the target audience of the movies. I was listening the videos of Sudha Murthy also. She is also the diehard fan of movies. She say every day I watch one movie, and then this is how she also become very good in a story narration and engaging the audience through books as well as the other communication. So movies actually help to improve our communication also, and the teaching also, of course. So how movies are influencing our students as well as the market, as well as the customers, as well as the other different stakeholders of the society. So it influences consciously and unconsciously. Movies influence sometimes consciously and sometimes unconsciously. We could see, Do Bund Zindagi Ki. There was an ad from Amitabh Bachchan for a polio. And before Amitabh Bachchan, we were very poor in the penetration of these polio, drops. But when Amitabh Bachchan says that do bund zindagi ki, and then suddenly, the consumption increased, and the acceptance of that idea of a do bund, 2 drops of, this vaccine increase, right? Because of the power of Amitabh Bachchan, right? Because of the power of Amitabh Bachchan. So, and that is the reason most of the South Indian film star become politician also at the late part of their career, right? Whether it is Kamal Hassan or whether it is Rajnikant or even Amitabh Bachchan himself entered in politics, right? Because they consciously or unconsciously influence us, and then it positively also influence, and it negatively also it influence. That is the reason many people are now demanding a very strict censoring on the OTT also. That on a OTT there is no much censor control, and that's why, because there are so many negative impact also happening on the young minds, right? So yeah, of course that is also the fact. So we must not forget that, right? So now let us consider the cinema as an acronym, and then try to find out the meaning of each alphabet, like what C stand for, I stand for, N stand for. I applied my mind from 2 perspectives: cinema from director's perspective. Directive here, I consider a teacher is a director of designing his own class, right, or lecture or session, right? When I'm going to my class and delivering my session, then I'm a director. I'm a director of my 60 minutes class or a 90 minutes class, right? So one perspective is teacher's perspective or director's perspective, and the other's perspective is the audience perspective, and our audience is a student, right? So let us see the director's perspective. When there is a cinema, a director or a teacher of a class, right, must think creativity, right? That how my class will be creative, and movies teach you how to be creative, right? Teacher must think innovative, right? Innovative, how I must be different, right? How I must be different, not comparing to others, but from my own yesterday's class, right? So yesterday I talk particular things in this style, but today how I can make some difference, right? So my original ideas, that is creativity, and how can I turn and twist my original ideas, right? Through my upgradation and modification and alteration, right? So that is also very important, because every now and then it may not be possible to be creative all the time, but then same idea which I generated, how can I modify in a different context? Then movies, when the director made a movies, they must be normative, right? They must understand what is right and what is wrong. The teachers should also understand that what to say and what not to say. Rather, what not to say is more important to understand, right? So that's why, movies teach you normative science, and teachers also should understand this. Entertainment, if you happen to read a lot of research on the effective teaching and everything, then there is a linear relationship between fun and learning. So if your class is very enjoying and very very pleasant, then students learn more. But if your class is very strict and your atmosphere is very very tense, and then students may not learn more, right? So it must be entertaining, not that's why there is a word called edutainment, right? The education must be through entertainment. So edutainment, it must not be all the time entertainment, but it must also not be all the time a very boring lecture. Then message and motivation is also very very important, right? And nowadays, in a flip kind of a classroom, we must motivate students to learn independently, right? Before the class and after the class. And the attitude formation, right? Attitude formation is also very very important in a movie making also, and in a class making, or in a management also. And now, if from the directive perspective, sorry, this was an audience perspective, and from director's perspective, if we see when the director make a movie, it's a content, character, and casting is very very important. What will be the content of the movie? What will be the character of the movie? And who are the characters? So that's why we in service marketing we talk about a customer co-creation. So how we can use our students as the resources, as a source of resources, right? That is very very important. How they become a part of the teaching production process. And casting, right? Like what we should delegate to whom. Idea, norms of the societies, entertainments, moral values also very important, and action, emotion, right? So the emotion must be in action, right? At the end of the class, the students must motivate to go and do something or to learn something independently. So this is what actually I think from my perspective, from directors and audience. You may have your own understanding, and you can give your own definition of each thing, or not always in an acronym form, but in some other form also. As madam was referring, Dark Knight and Interstellar and Inception, and recently the Oppenheimer, right, from a Christopher Nolan. Now there is a one narration I am going to give you. I give you 3 narration, and then if you know the movies, you can if you know the movie, then you can write the name of that movie in your chat box, right? अपनी पहली मैच में शतक अपनी पहली मैच में शतक बनाने वाली वो एकमात्र खिलाड़ी थी। टेस्ट क्रिकेट मैच में दोहरा शतक बनाने वाली पहली महिला है। 2020 अंतरराष्ट्रीय में 2000 रन बनाने वाली पहली भारतीय बल्लेबाज। महिला एक दिवसीय अंतरराष्ट्रीय क्रिकेट में 6000 रनों को पार करने वाली एकमात्र महिला, एकमात्र खिलाड़ी है जिन्हें एक से अधिक आईसीसी ओडी विश्व कप में खेलने का मौका मिला। वर्ल्ड कप में भी बतौर कप्तान सबसे ज्यादा 24 मैच खेली है। विमेन्स वनडे क्रिकेट के इतिहास में लगातार 7 अर्धशतक लगाने वाली महिला, और महिला वर्ल्ड कप में सबसे ज्यादा 50+ रन की पारी खेलने वाली महिला, और वर्ल्ड कप में सबसे ज्यादा 12 बार 50 रन की पारी खेलने वाली महिला। अगर इस महिला के बारे में आपको अगर बायोपिक मूवी देखने को मिले, है ना, क्या नाम है इस महिला का? एनीबडी नोस? या मिताली राज, very rightly said. And which was the biopic movies made on a Mitali Raj, and who was the actress in that movie? If anybody knows, it's a very beautiful movies. Now we must recommend the students to watch such kind of movies. Our heroes are sometimes, in a male dominant societies, we always talk about Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, but we never talk about the Mitali Raj. And the journey of Mitali Raj, and how she, become the star of the cricket. Yeah, the movie, no, Anushka Sharma was not. Taapsee Pannu was the heroine, in her biopic movie. And what was the movie? No, still nobody replied. Yes, nobody replied. Tapsi Pannu is the right answer, but the name of the movie is a Shabash Mittu, right? The name of the movie is a Shabash Mittu. I recommend all of you to watch this movie. It is not so successful movies because it was released on OTT directly, not released on the big screen, right? But a movie, as it was very important to make a movie on MS Dhoni and 83 World Cup. It was also very important to make a movie on a Mithali Raj, right? Because it talk all together about a new generation, right? Where now women participation become very important, and when our students go and do a management, then how to work across the different gender and cultural diversities, and face the problem of a corporate glass ceiling, and then how to break those in a man world, right? So those things very emotionally captured in such kind of movies. Now let me ask this question. Many of you, may not be uh, familiar with the Hindi movies, but then also, if it is possible, you please try to give the answer, and you can give the answer of such movies where talk about such content in some other movies also. A boy who is confused what career I choose. A boy who is confused what is my talent. A boy who is confused that whether I choose business of my father, which I don't like. Boy who is depressed because of nobody believe in his talent because he is labeled as good for nothing, and boy leave his home because of his confused career, and what this boy should do. So this was the story of a movie. And in our management institutes also, most of the time we find such kind of students in our classroom, right? Like they don't know why they are here in MBA. If you ask a very simple question, why did you join MBA, then you may not get a satisfactory clear answer, right? And then these movies very specifically target such kind of a case, and then made a very beautiful movies and convinced the students that how to take a right decision, because decision make management is equal to decision making, right? If we say management is equal to decision making, then there is nothing wrong, right? Management is all about we are teaching them how to take a right decision, right? And this movie was a wake up scene. So it was not a Shahrukh Khan movie. Lakshya also, it was a little bit that match, but this movie is called a wake up scene, right? It was not so successful movies, but I recommend all of you to watch this movie, where all those problems which I am talking about is there, right? And why I am talking all these movies based on the self management in the beginning, because the father of management, Peter of Drucker, in his book, the management challenges, in 21st centuries, he talk about the old assumptions and new assumptions, and then he directly talk about the challenges like managing information, managing a knowledge worker, and then he says the most important and essential challenge in 21st century is managing your own self, right? So self management is going to be very tough. He said in his book in written in 2002 around, right? So naturally, we must start relating movies with such kind of problems. Let me also ask one offbeat movie where I can give a one clue also. The hero of the movie is Rajkumar Rao, if somebody knows the hero, right? One young man locked in a one new high-rise building. Nobody is surrounded to him to help. His mobile is dead. He does not have a food, and how does he survive? Now you see, in a decision making, we use so many cases. Those cases like 50 pages, 60 pages, where sometimes talk about to generate the thought provocation, or generate some innovative ideas, and understand the situation and how to solve the problem. So here also, when we use that movie as a case, and then case is all about what issue, right? There is some issue, so thereby there is a case, and there is a protagonist, right? The students must imagine that I am in that situation, and now if I am in that situation, what should I do? So that is what exactly the case study. So when you use the movies like this, putting the story and content of the movies as a question mark, and then ask the students that in this situation what you can do, right? And this movie, anybody knows this movie? You are trapped. I really appreciate this answer, huh? I didn't expect, but I really appreciate Dr. Shazia Khan. No, she rightly said it is a movie called Trapped. And I recommend all of you to use this movie as a problem solving. This movie can be used as a problem solving also, uh, idea generation also, how to generate the ideas, right? And decision making, and even ethics also. You see, at a one stage, the Rajkumar Rao who trapped in the building face a problem like whether to kill the mouse and eat or not, because he said, I am a vegetarian. Right, I'm a vegetarian, how can I eat the mouse? Right, so then it was a moral dilemma, right? It was a and in the process he understand the value also, the value of a food, because when he recalled the days he went to the restaurant and then he left away a lot of food, and then now he understand the value in this situation, right? He understand the values of his relatives, girlfriends, right? So many things can be discover in our teaching through movies, by referring this kind of movies and understanding the different nuances of the movies. So movies motivate to learn. If my very strong belief is that if not directly movie help you to learn various management lessons, but at least it motivate to learn, right? It motivate us to learn, and in today's generation it is very very important, because everything is available to them, right? For students everything is available. YouTube channels are there, and then OTT platforms are there, documentaries are there, so many sources are there, but then how to motivate them to learn from that, right? So that's why concepts are there: leadership, entrepreneurship, teamwork, self-development, critical thinking, creativity, people management, communication skills. But then how to relate the movies with this skill, and then how to motivate them to actually watch, come back, and then we have a briefing and debriefing. Like in training, we say briefing and debriefing, right? So how we relate the content of the movies, and then ask them to discuss the takeaway points or take home points from that movies, right? So that is also very very important. So now we refer some of the movies very quickly, which I may have a different perspective that I can teach leadership or entrepreneurship or a self development or a people management from this movie. You can have your own perspective, right? Because creativity lies in the eyes of the opponent, right? So that's why these are the movies I'm referring. You may have some other perspective also. And Drishyam is the best example, right? Like those who have seen the Malayalam version of a Drishyam, they also know the entire concept of a movie is that he learn whatever he did only through movies. He used to watch many movies, and that's why the name of the movie is also Drishyam. मतलब दृश्य जो हम देखते हैं, मैंने जैसे परसेप्चुअल सिलेक्टिविटी एंड परसेप्चुअल प्रोसेस की बात की है ना. So the scene and the image which we see have a impact on our mind, and that will be useful when we are taking some decision. So Drishyam is the best example, right? Drishyam 1, Drishyam 2, and then there are 10 movies I randomly selected. There is no any a deliberate choice. You can have your own choice. In which the first movie is a Guru, right? How many of you have seen the movie called Guru? It is from Mani Ratnam. Mani Ratnam is a very famous director from South, right? Rosa, Mumbai, those kind of movies made by Mani Ratnam. And PS1 and PS2 recently, made by Mani Ratnam, Ponniyin Selvan, right? Epic story in South India, and then Jairam and it's Aishwarya Roy, and it's a beautiful movie, PS1 and PS2. But Guru basically talk about the story of Dhirubhai Ambani, right? The story of Reliance, and it clashes with Indian Express, right? And then there are dialogues also very very famous and relating to the management. जैसे इसमें हिंदी में वो बोलता है कि जब लोग तुम्हारे खिलाफ बोलने लगे तो समझ लो कि तुम्हारी तरक्की हो रही है, right? So there are one punchline dialogue become very famous. And then there was a movie called Mission Mangal, right? And it was regarding ISRO as an organization, which talks so many things like how to motivate the people, how to work in a cross culture, team, right? Because here you could see that one team member was on the verge of retirement, and another member was a bachelor, right? Another lady just got married, and then Vidya Balan was is a very mature team member, and then Akshay Kumar as a leader, a very expert person, and in this makes how to work in a cross culture or in a cultural diversities. Like in a management, we say one of the challenges is responsiveness to cultural diversity. So here in this movie, they very successfully show that how to manage the cultural diversity, because the basic drive, behind each and every scientist is remains same. That why they become a scientist. So when that question is very clear, that why you become a scientist, then your gender, your culture, your problems, your personal problems doesn't matter, right? You want to prove that what is the reason of my existence here in this organization, right? So all such things, very successfully shown in this movie. Negotiation, how to negotiate with your boss for a fund, right? How to convince your boss for your ideas. All such things, very successfully, shown in this movie. This movie, I deliberately select some movies which you may not aware about, like say Three Idiots, you all must be aware about. But then some of the movies, and these are the movies, this movie actually suggested by one of my PhD students because he knows that my sir liked to watch different kind of movies, and then he suggested me that, sir, you must watch this movie. And then I believe me, it's a wonderful movie talking about how to set a business in a South Africa. So this man called Rizwan and it's a biopic movie, right? It's a biopic movie. It's a true story based movie. So how successfully he set a business in a South Africa, a retail chain, right? Now there was a time when he lost everything, right? He lost everything. He created an empire. He lost everything again on the basis of his basic belief, human relation. He developed the bigger empire, राइट इन दिस मूवी. और उसमें जो सबसे बड़ा डायलॉग था कि शुक्र है व्याधि नहीं है. व्याधि नहीं है मतलब स्ट्रेस नहीं है. तो हाउ टू डू अ वर्क स्ट्रेस फ्री, एंड ही शोज द हीरो ऑफ द मूवी. You must watch this movie. Then there was a movie from a Yasraj studio, that was Band Baja Bharat, right? It is basically a entrepreneur movie, right? They started an event management company, and then how to the main part of a movie I like is that how to scale up the business. Like they said, we started an event management company, we are doing a small events, but then how now to target a upper scale target audience. That was a challenge faced by these two entrepreneurs. And then it very successfully they show the skill as well as the process of upscaling the business and upskilling in the business, right? So that is also very interesting in this movie. Lagan, every time, the all-time favorite movie on a leadership, on teamwork, on so many aspects, right? And many trainers also use Lagan as the movie for teaching so many management lessons, right? Corporate, like for ethics, right? And the politics, because politics is inevitable part of the organization, right? Politics is not a bad word, right? And politics is the part of the organization and corporates. So what kind of because certain things we cannot teach students, we cannot create experience for students through case study also, right? That what kind of a politics is going on in the organization, right? But through movies, that feelings and experience can be translated and communicated to the students, that you may face this kind of situation also. How your competitor will copy your idea before you launch the product, how your competitor will copy your idea, and then you are nowhere, right? Whatever the amount you spend on your R&D is zero. Right? So all those tactics and the diplomatic strategies shown in this movie called a corporate, right? The name itself is a corporate. And then there was a movie called Bazaar, right? And it was a very, very, powerful movie. Those who have yet not watched the movie, I do recommend to watch the movie. As Madam was talking about the one movie from a share market, right? But this movie is also adaptation of all those movies from a share market made in a Hollywood only. But this is our audience can connect more with this movie, right? इसका आप टैगलाइन ही देखो कितना इफेक्टिव है इस देश को वह चलाने के साथ फैमिलीज चलाते रहे जैसे टाटा बिरला है ना अंबानी वाडिया तो थोड़ा गेम चेंज कर देते हैं अब नाउ कोठारीज की भी बारी तो otherwise earlier when we talk in license raj most of the time we talk about Tata Birla and right but now how the new generation entrepreneurs are coming and that's why the another movie for a marketing is a rocket scene right रिस्क तो स्पाइडरमैन को भी लेना पड़ता है मैं तो फिर भी सेल्समैन हूँ so most of our students at entry level get a sales job or a marketing executive job. So what are the mental frustrations and the problems faced by the entry level job, right? So such kind of things we can teach our students through movies like a rocket scene. And there is a recent web series called Cubicles also, right? Cubicles. So in a typical 9 to 5 job, what are the different problems, right? And how to overcome from all those problems. So our students can come to know the corporate culture through watching such kind of and all such program from this TV have run a viral that channel, right? Aspirant, whether it is Aspirant, whether it is Quota Factory, whether it is Cubicles, whether it is Features, right? Panchayat Raj. So all those movies, not movies, the web series. Right? Aspirant 2 now just launch Aspirant 2, right? So which help our students. And the movie Chak De India, right? Which also talk about the strategy, goal, leadership, teamwork, cultural diversity, right? Everything it talk about. And it's a beautiful movie, Chak De India. I took some of the example of recent movies also. Tumse Na Ho Paega. There is a recent movie in Disney Hotstar. Tumse Na Ho Paega. It is also about entrepreneurship, right? It is also about entrepreneurship. There was a similar case in IIM Ahmedabad also. I recall that was regarding a piano, right? Stanley or some brand was there. So they faced the same problem what the problem faced in this particular movie, right? And let me not give a spoiler. You yourself can watch the movie. Only disclaimer and caution is that there are many bad words used in this movie. So those who don't like and irritate because of the bad language is used because those things are a byproduct or an inseparable part of some of the OTT content. But otherwise, it is worth watching. How many of you have seen this movie? किसी ने देखा है? एक last question है, आप मुझे बता दीजिए किसी ने देखा है ये movie तो? I'm just finishing 5 minutes. If you have watched these movies, it's a very beautiful movie in which it talk about a male ego, it talk about the tradition versus science, it talk about the objectivity versus subjectivity, it talk about the emotional decision versus rational decision, it talk about the cultural clashes and conflicts. Though it is a movie, entertaining movie, but then teaching so many things. Here I was talking to Madam. It's a story about Nike, field night, how they convince the Michael Jordan to endorse the Nike brand because at that time Adidas was the main competitor. Now against Adidas, how you can fight back, and it's a beautiful story. It's a very very short part of the entire. Because there is a dog shoes, there is a book also on the story of Nike, which talk about the entire story of the field night, the night, right? But here this particular story talk about a very small slice of the part of the Nike, right? And then how they convince the Michael Jordan. So beautiful movie. So this is the last two slides. The first, movie made in India is from Dada Saheb Phalke was in 1913. 1913 में राजा हरिश्चंद्र करके मूवी बना था, which talk about the values, right? Like how Harishchandra was utmost adhere to speaking the truth, as our motto of the country, Satyameva Jayate, right? So how much we should dedicate it to the truth. So that's why Raja Harishchandra. And from Raja Harishchandra to what kind of movies released in last month, right? You have a movie called Dak Dak, when there are four women, right? They follow their dream, they choose their dream, and how independently they want to face the various challenges of a life. There is a movies like a 12th Fail, right? That how there are die hard, very burning desire of our youngsters are making a difference in our country and going to make a difference in our country, right? And coming from a very very humble background or a small poor background, but nobody can steal their dream. उसके सपने कोई चोरी नहीं कर सकता है, और जब तक उसके सपने जिंदा है, इंडिया जिंदा है. And then we have movies like a Tejas, right? A woman fighter, a pilot fighter, and then Mission Raniganj, where how one employee saved the life of people, right? So this kind of movies are also made. The thing is, means the different genre of movies are changing, and that is worth to mention in the classroom, right? Because movie directors and the entire team is doing a lot of research, right, while making a movies, and then they made a movies, right? And then it is ready-made available to use as a pedagogy, right? So my humble request and attempt to just create little bit curiosity and little bit spark in your mind with few ideas, like whatever the limited time we had, I try to give. I hope you like it. अंत में मैं इतना ही बोलना चाहता हूँ कि एक बहुत अच्छा ऐसे डायलॉग था कि हर इंसान अपनी कहानी का हीरो होता है, लेकिन बायोपिक किसी किसी इंसानों के जीवन पे ही बनती है. तो एज ए टीचर तो है ना, हम हर हीरो है अपने बच्चों के लिए, लेकिन शायद हमारी बायोपिक नहीं बनेगी, लेकिन हमारी बायोपिक तो हर दिन हमारे क्लास में बनती है ना, क्योंकि हमारे बच्चे हमारे साथ गुजारा हुआ वक्त और हमसे जो सीख के गए हैं वो भी जहन में लेके जाते हैं. तो थैंक यू फॉर द एसोसिएशन ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट स्कूल, द एंटायर मैनेजमेंट टीम ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, Priya madam and Sunil sir and all the other member of this association. Thank you for passionate listening and listening me for quite a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Raju Rathod, for sharing such wonderful knowledge with all of us today. I'm Grace, not Priya. Just wanted to, yeah.
Sorry.
Priya is also there, yeah, but I was the one who was moderating. But thank you so much for this session. And there was one question which was posted very early during the session, and I'd like to post that session for you. And that states that, can you please suggest how we can relate with management concepts like purchase and material management or Indian business environment? I think the answers for Indian business environment we already got with some of the movies that we read. Purchase and material management, if you could answer that question. So kindly unmute yourself.
1 minute. Yeah, I am audible. Purchase and material, I specifically also tried to do that. There was one movie called Tumbi. It was a Hindi movie, and in which, but it was not a biopic or any true story based movies. It's a fictional movies, right? So naturally, whatever the ideas they got, it was regarding fictional things, right? So we cannot set the authenticity of that example, but otherwise, some narration was given that how to make the product cheap, right? by focusing on material and everything. So my answer is like, if you are specifically want to relate with such kind of problems, then you do have an eye on different movies, and then try to recall that in which movies you can do. Like recently when this question I heard, I relate with that movie, right? And otherwise nowadays there are so many not movies, but the documentaries on Netflix or Amazon Prime. Recently I was watching a documentary of Bill Gates, decoding the bill, right? Decoding the bill. It's a very beautiful documentary where they talk about all these things also, like the material and all such things also, right? Because they refer some of the recent projects of Bill Gates, right, on a sanitation or on education. So they talk about such things. And there are documentaries on SpaceX also, on Elon Musk operation also. I think return to the space, or some documentaries there. So they are also, so they talk how to make it cheap, the entire technology. So I think with these efforts, one can have a collection or archives of specific content-based movies.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. And I'm sure the participant who posted that question, for them, it was very useful. And thank you for covering so many topics here today. And I'd like to, highlight one of the things that really came out, something new for me, and I'm sure even for the participants, is that how a teacher enters the classroom, and then how a teacher need to present or plan their session from the viewer's perspective and from the director's perspective, and the full form of cinema that you have made. Wonderful to know that difference. Thank you for sharing that, and also emphasizing the Peter Drucker's emphasis on managing self, and then sharing the movies which actually relate and which you take as examples on managing self and problem solving, motivation, perception, which is perspective selectivity, and things like that you have shared. Wonderful, sir. And all the movies, recent movies that you have shared with us. It was wonderful to interact with you. Thank you. And I'm sure it was a great learning for all the participants who joined us today. So thank you. And special thanks to the president of AIMS, Mr. Sudhir Sharma, Dr. S.S. Prasad Rao, and all board members. So thank you, all of you. Have a good evening. Thank you, Dr. Raju, and everyone.